All right, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, on Bear Sheath Farm with your host, Levite Khan. Took a little while to make sure everything was straight. Took a couple of minutes or whatever to pray. Gotta get this ready. Oops. Okay, got this done. All right. Keep my eye on things here a little bit, but I have my wife moderating too, and if there's anybody else moderating, just try to keep your eye on things. I'm all for constructive criticism, productive questions, that are genuine, on and on, like that. Now, anyway, let me look at some things I want to go ahead and start showing you right away. So without further ado, let's get this on the shares. Use the share screen and bing. Okay, there we are. Let's get this moving, shall we?
Okay, this video is going viral right now on Twitter I don't think this is the same guy you're about to see in a second, but these are flock cameras. If you've been following what's happening with flock cameras, they at first said they're going to help catch people who have stolen cars. But now they're talking about turning the facial recognition on them and turning the microphones on them. So this is supposed to be like a big surveillance grid, but people are calling it a Trojan horse because it was supposed to be for one thing, but now it has all these other applications, which just so happen to make it a lot more surveillance-y, like we've seen in other countries around the world, like China, where you pay with your face. Literally, it scans your face, deducts it from your bank account, and if you cross the street the wrong way, you get a deduction from your bank account. You get fined, and before you even make it across the street, you get the money deducted from your bank account, and you lose social credit points. Now, the crazy part is we saw this in the United Kingdom with the ULEZ zones, the ultra-low emission zones, and people were going around with sawzalls, cutting these things down. Putting a bag on it, though, I don't even know, is that vandalism? Because it's not damaging it, but it is rendering it inoperable, like it's not working when the camera's covered. So I wonder about what kind of trouble you'd get in doing that. But regardless, here's the thing. We got to keep our heads on a swivel for things they say they're doing to make our lives better and easier and make things more efficient, and then backdoor reasons that things are actually going on. Much like our cell phones. I mean, we use these things, we use the front end of them, but the back end is surveillance, monitoring, AI, not to mention the frequencies that are emitting off of them, which is not ideal. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below about that young man running around climbing these poles. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more. Okay, this video is going viral right now on Twitter I don't think this is the same guy you're about to see in a second, but these are flock.
Okay, sorry about that. Oh, brother, how do I get rid of this dumb thing? Gab, I need your help. I sized it up when I didn't mean to, and I don't know how to downsize it. Oh, wait.
Viral right now on Twitter. Okay, this video is going viral right now on Twitter I don't
claim any.
If anyone has ears.
If you're not following my channel, make sure to follow for.
This will be.
Not only do we need to be worried about Bill Gates' mRNA inside of our fruits and vegetables, now we have to worry about the fruits and vegetables of being a vaccine themselves.
Medicago's manufacturing facility looks like a nursery, but inside these plants, they're growing a new kind of vaccine. The technology is called a virus-like particle.
At Medicago, we use a careful step-by-step process to develop vaccines, using our plants as mini bioreactors. We start with the gene sequence or code of a virus. We then use our technology to synthesize the virus code into a real biological product. The code contains genetic instructions that our plants can read, and we insert it into bacteria called Agrobacterium tumefaciens. We submerge the plants in a bath with the bacteria that carries the information into the plant cells. And using a vacuum, we suck out the air between the plant cells and replace it with the liquid. The plants absorb it like a sponge. At the end of their bacterial bath, we return our plants to a carefully controlled greenhouse to let them get on with their natural growing business for at least 4 days. Now the plants will start producing the most important ingredient of our vaccines, virus-like particles.
Now, this right here, people, is why I promote foraging, gardening, homesteading, hunting. If that's not feasible, making friends with your local farmer, going to your local farmers market and meeting local farmers, getting connections this way so that you are not being forced to purchase food from the grocery store. None of us can confidently say what is being put in our food, and even things now as simple as a whole food. You know, you think you're getting a tomato. This could be an mRNA vaccinated tomato. So just be wary of these things, people. There has never been a better time in history to go back to doing things how we originally did for ourselves. Not only do we need to be worried about.
That's Health Primitive. I do recommend this lady that you watch her stuff.
Reducing population growth.
Take notes. We're going to go to Sir William here next. He's always so interesting.
That's this big benefit. The key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve reducing population growth. That's this big benefit. The key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve health.
Developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations.
I would like to reduce the number of people on the planet because there's too many of us.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
There's really nothing funny about that. It's just I'm laughing because there's such a difference in opinions. You can tell that these people authentically think that taking the population down by 50% is a good thing, and you couldn't tell them otherwise. And so what you have to do is just realize that you have to take control of your life and put it in your own hands. Obviously, you trust in God in all things, but he's given you a mind. And ideally, that mind is the mind of Christ, and you use that well, and you begin to prepare your family and set up yourselves and begin to move into the private in your own your private governmental structure. You begin to operate in the private, and you begin to do meaningful things and document and get smart, get wise. For anyone, no matter if you make $5,000 a year, you make $500,000 a year, it's the same. You need to begin to set up your own private governmental structure. And if you want help with any of these things or to see what I have done, please reach out to me, and I will be happy to point you in the right direction. God bless.
Okay. Now this video, if I was to click on, is almost 44 minutes. But it's about Canada. They're trying to pass the Noahide punishment laws, which includes decapitation, basically you're cutting off your head if you break those laws. Now, I'm not going to play it. I just recommend that you watch it. This is Stephen Danoon and his wife here. Canada is passing Noahide punishment laws. Will Christianity be outlawed soon in Canada? So just so you know.
Our world is being prepared.
Anyway, let's go elsewhere here, shall we? Give me a second. Anyway, okay, I'm going to go on to lab-grown meat here. We'll play that, and then I'll be putting the links in underneath this video once it's done. So let me go ahead and put this in or share it. Here we go.
Look at this. This looks like a prime cut of sirloin. But this steak has never seen a pasture. It was never born, never fed hay, and never walked. It was grown. This is cultured meat, and it promises to solve one of humanity's biggest problems. How? To feed 10 billion people without destroying the planet. But behind the utopian vision, there's a brutal fight. Will this technology save us, or will it be the ultimate betrayal of traditional farming and an entirely unnatural step toward a franken-food future? This is the science, the cost, and the controversy of the lab-grown meal. It sounds like science fiction, but the process is rooted in synthetic biology. It all starts with a biopsy, a single, tiny sample of muscle tissue taken from a living animal. No harm, just a small sample of cells. We're not using GMOs or genetic engineering here. We're simply identifying stem cells that can regenerate and multiply indefinitely. These stem cells are then placed in a bioreactor, which is essentially a giant sterile fermentation tank, like a brewery. The secret ingredient is the culture medium, a nutrient-rich bath providing everything the cells need: sugars, salts, and proteins. Think of it as a liquid food that replaces the cow's digestive system. The cells feed, they multiply, and within weeks, billions of cells coalesce to form muscle fibers. That is your burger. The biggest argument for this tech is the planet. Traditional livestock uses 77% of the world's agricultural land and accounts for about 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions, mostly methane. Cultured meat requires vastly less land, no antibiotics, and promises a massive reduction in emissions. Here is the controversial catch. New studies show that while lab-grown meat dramatically cuts down on land use, it demands enormous amounts of energy. Those shiny bioreactors have to be kept warm, constantly stirred, and perfectly sterile, a process that is incredibly electricity intensive. If the electricity powering the meat factories comes from coal or gas, some analyses suggest cultured meat could actually generate more warming over the long run than traditional farming. The environmental superiority is entirely dependent on one factor: clean, renewable power. Now let's talk about the two most volatile issues: the economy and the kitchen table. For traditional farmers, this is not a sustainable future, it's an existential threat. This technology shifts food production from fields and ranches to pharmaceutical-style factories owned by massive biotech corporations. This isn't a food revolution, it's industrial consolidation. Then there is the consumer reaction. For many, the word lab-grown triggers an immediate aversion. Is something truly food if it was created in a stainless steel tank? Proponents argue it's just a highly optimized version of natural cell growth. Opponents label it the ultimate frankenfood, a synthetic, deeply unnatural product we shouldn't trust. The choice we face is stark. It's between the romantic ideal of a farm and the scientific necessity of a factory. Cultured meat is inevitable. It offers a way out of a land crisis. But it comes with a high price tag: the death of a millennia-old way of life, and a complete reliance on renewable energy that we don't yet have. So I'll ask you, if your plate could save the environment but cost the entire farming economy its future, and you knew that steak was never truly alive, would you eat it?
All right. My wife had to come over and help me to get some things on. Let me show another one here. And I can relate to this one whether I'd like it or not. Give me a second here. And we'll play this whole video. And I'll tell you how I can relate to it because it was by accident. Okay. There we go. Here we are.
Lab-grown meat has arrived in this country. Would you ever eat lab-grown meat?
Lab-grown meat? What's that? I thought this was meat, or this, or this. But no, I'm wrong to assume that. Meat is now being grown in labs. To make it, they use a syringe to pull tissue out of an animal.
The tissue is cut into minuscule pieces to separate the muscle fibers and cells. The cells start dividing. When all these little pieces of muscle are layered together, we get exactly the same thing we started with: beef.
But is it safe? Well, U.S. regulators have approved it.
2 cultivated meat producers now getting the green light to begin commercially selling their chicken.
Take your fake lab-grown meat elsewhere. We're not doing that in the state of Florida.
Florida and Alabama quickly outlawed lab-grown meat.
And we appreciate that ban.
Bill Ballard lobbies for cattlemen.
It's a recognition of the importance of preserving the family farm structure of agriculture in the United States. And if it weren't for Alabama and Florida doing it, then the meat packers would have the ability to pass it off to unsuspecting consumers as if it were indeed a meat product, which it is not.
They don't conceal it. They say this is cultivated meat.
It is, but they haven't told the public exactly what's in it.
They pull it out of the animal and grow it in the lab. It's still the same source,
but not produced in the same manner.
How do you grow meat in the lab?
Some activists oppose it too, making videos like this.
You use something called immortalized cells, meaning they grow like a tumor. Want to taste it?
I think I'll pass.
Now lobbyists are persuading politicians in other states to ban lab-grown meat.
Lab-grown meat has no place in Nebraska. That's according to Governor Pillen.
But wait, why do politicians get to decide for everyone? I got a producer of lab-grown chicken to let me try some. Their employees sauteed it, and I tried it.
This is what Florida banned, and we view it as this is 99% chicken.
Melissa Musiker works for Upside Foods, one of two companies producing lab-grown chicken. Upside sued Florida over its ban.
One of these is chicken, and another is lab-grown chicken.
I offered people a taste of what Florida's agriculture commissioner calls frankenmeat versus chicken we bought at Whole Foods.
They're both really good. I think that one's lab-grown.
Bingo. People correctly guessed which was which.
That's the real one, and that's the lab-grown.
This one was juicier. I assume this is the lab-grown one?
It was. People like the lab-grown chicken.
That's much juicier.
This was moist and tasty.
Although everyone in our test could tell the difference, in this taste test of a different lab-grown chicken, this food critic couldn't.
I was so sure that this is the real chicken.
All this raises the question, why not let us consumers decide? Why are you bribing politicians to ban it?
The government has a legitimate role in ensuring that we have an abundant and affordable and safe food supply. You can't say that about this lab-grown meat.
Lab-grown beef would make the food supply more secure because you'd have another choice.
You should not be able to make that decision when you know that the decision will have the effect of threatening the viability of our food production.
You could have said this about horse-drawn carriages years ago. Ban cars.
There are sacrifices to be made with progress, but one sacrifice we cannot make is the ability to maintain a viable food production system.
I don't buy his logic. Allowing an extra option would make our food supply more resistant to disruption.
We can make millions, the equivalent of millions of chickens, and we only produce the edible product of the chickens. There's no beaks, there's no feet, there's no feathers.
And no animals are killed.
Chicken meat production is sadly a story of suffering.
That's one reason a lot of people eschew eating animal protein, and they say, I don't want to eat that anymore because it makes me feel uncomfortable. This can be a really attractive product for people like them because this is a way for them to say, like, literally vote with their plate.
Would you buy laboratory-grown food?
Yeah, I liked it.
We should have the freedom to vote with our dollars, decide for ourselves if lab-grown meat or lab-grown anything is something we want. Maybe we won't like it. Then we won't buy it. But it's wrong when politicians forbid us to try something. I think Americans deserve more choices. It's the reason I started Stossel TV, to give you alternatives. And if you like this alternative, please click that button and help us make more.
Beholds at National University. She's the mid-level employee who strives for...
All right. All right, we're going to go back to Facebook. I'm kind of hitting you with a lot of subjects, and kind of a couple of subjects I'm really bombing you hard here. So, all right, let's do this.
secrets of the absolute.
Sorry about that. I thought I was playing it. My bad, folks. I apologize. Let me get this on the share screen. Okay, we'll try it again.
If anyone has ears to hear, let them hear. This is the Masonic Creed by John D. Rockefeller, written in 1880. It's the secret covenant, the empire of illusion. An illusion it will be, so large, so vast, it will escape their perception. Those who will see it will be thought of as insane. We will create separate fronts to prevent them from seeing the connection between us. We will behave as if we are not connected to keep the illusion alive. Our goal will be accomplished one drop at a time so as never to bring suspicion upon ourselves. This will also prevent them from seeing the changes as they occur. We will always stand above the relative field of their experience, for we know the secrets of the absolute. We will work together always and will remain bound by blood and secrecy. Death will come to he who speaks. We will keep their lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways so they will never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators, and sedatives in food and water, also in the air. They will be blanketed by poisons everywhere they turn. The soft metals will cause them to lose their minds. We will promise to find a cure from our many fronts, yet we will feed them more poison. The poisons will be absorbed through their skin and mouths. They will destroy their minds and reproductive systems. For all this, their children will be born dead while we will conceal this information. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them, and what they eat, drink, breathe, and wear. We must be ingenious in dispensing the poisons, for they can see far. We will teach them that the poisons are good with fun images and musical tones. Those they look up to will help. We will enlist them to push our poisons. They will see our products being used in film and will grow accustomed to them and will never know their true effect. When they give birth, we will inject poisons into the blood of their children and convince them it is for their health. We will start early on when their minds are young. We will target the children with what children love most, sweet things. When their teeth decay, we will fill them with metals that will kill their mind and steal their future. When their ability to learn has been affected, we will create medicine that will make them sicker and cause other diseases, for which we will create yet more medicine. We will render them docile and weak before us by our power. They will grow depressed, slow, and obese, and when they come to us for help, we will give them more poison. We will focus their attention toward money and material goods, so they will never connect with their inner self. We will distract them with fornication, external pleasures, and games, so they may never be the one with the oneness of it all. Their minds will belong to us, and they will do as we say. If they refuse, we will find ways to implement mind-altering technology into their lives. We will use fear as our weapon. We will establish their governments and establish opposites within. We will own both sides. We will always hide our objective, but carry out our plan. They will perform the labor for us, and we will prosper from their toil. Our families will never mix with theirs. Our blood must be pure always, for it is the way. We will make them kill each other when it suits us. We will keep them separated from the oneness by dogma and religion. We will control all aspects of their lives and tell them what to think and how. We will guide them kindly and gently, letting them think they are guiding guiding themselves. We will form an animosity between them through our factions. When a light shall shine among them, we will extinguish it by ridicule or death, whichever suits us best. We will make some rip their hearts apart and kill their own children. We will accomplish this by using hate as our ally, anger as our friend. The hate will bind them totally, and never shall they see that from their conflicts we emerge as their rulers. They will be busy killing each other. They will bathe in their own blood and kill their neighbors for as long as we see fit. We will benefit greatly from this, for they will not see us. For they cannot see us. We will continue to prosper from their wars and their death. We shall repeat this over and over until our ultimate goal is accomplished. We will continue to make them live in fear and anger to images and sounds. We will use all the tools we have to accomplish this. The tools will be provided by their labor. We will make them hate themselves and their neighbors. We will always hide the divine truth from them that we are all one. This they must never know. They must never know that color is an illusion, and they must always think that they are not equal. Drop by drop, drop by drop, we will advance our goal. We will take over their land, resources, and wealth to exercise total control over them. We will deceive them into accepting laws that will steal the little freedom they will have. We will establish a money system that will imprison them forever, keeping them and their children in debt. When they shall band together, we will accuse them of crimes that present a different story to the world. For we shall own all media. We will use our media to control the flow of information and their sentiment in our favor. When they shall rise up against us, we will crush them like insects, for they are less than that. They will be helpless to do anything, for they will have no weapons. We will recruit some of our own to carry out our plans. We will promise them eternal life, but eternal life they will never have, for they are not us. The recruits will be called initiates and will be indoctrinated to believe false rites of passage to higher realms. Members of these groups will think they are one of us, never knowing the truth. They must never learn this truth, or they will turn against us. For their work, they will be rewarded with earthly things and great titles, but never will they become immortal and join us. Never will they receive the light and travel the stars. They will never reach the higher realms, for the killing of their own kind will prevent passage to the realm of enlightenment. This they will never know. The truth will be hidden in their face. The truth will be hidden in their face, so close they will not be able to focus on it until it's too late. Oh yes, so grand. The illusion of freedom will be that they will never know that they are our slaves. When all is in place, the reality we will have created for them will own them. This reality will be their prison. They will live in self-delusion. When our goal is accomplished, a new era of domination will begin. Their minds will be bound by their beliefs, the beliefs we have established from time immemorial. But if they ever find out they are our equal, we will perish then. This they must never know. If they ever find out that together they can vanquish us, they will take action. They must never ever find out what we have done. For if they do, we shall have no place to run. For it will be easy to see who we are once the veil has fallen. Our actions will have revealed who we are, and they will hunt us down, and no person shall give us shelter. This is the secret covenant by which we shall live the rest of present and future lives. For this reality will transcend many generations and lifespans. This covenant is sealed in blood, our blood, we, the ones who from heaven to earth came. This covenant must never ever be known to exist. It must never ever be written of or spoken of. For if it is, the consciousness it will spawn will release the fury of the prime creator upon us, and we shall be cast into the depths from which we came and remain there until the end of time, infinity itself. It's time to wake up. It's time.
All right. So what else we got?
Make sure to follow for some more like this.
The translators are gone, and the live stream is waning, which means that if we just listen to my colleague Matthias, the best thing in the world would be to leave it to you, the people. Now it's up to you to share what clearly, based on the cavernous emptiness we see in all of these spaces, is only going to be heard if you share it. So it feels very appropriate that I should be the one with the quietest voice. But let's let that lion roar. Shall we? I'm done talking about it, and I'm done talking about CoV2, and I'm done for a very simple reason. For 110 years, we, the people of the world, have been lied to. We're a group, a very small number of criminal, industrial conspirators
them people are.
decided to subordinate the entirety of the human population for the purpose of their sinister plans to enrich themselves while impoverishing and the rest of humanity. And I'm done being polite. We've long passed polite. When the words acceptable rate become part of an industrial norm, we have lost the plot of humanity. And that's not my words. Those were the words of the World Health Organization and of Pfizer and of Moderna when they were given the authorization to begin the process of human beings in the interest of advancing their goals. Next slide. And I'm also not going to sugarcoat this. This is a criminal cartel. We are acting as though there's some sort of redeemable quality somewhere in some esoteric layer that somehow or another the World Health Organization must have some salutatory benefit. Well, I'm going to tell you, since its formation in the 1940s, the World Health Organization has been nothing more than a criminal cartel that has a sole and singular intent. And I will show you the document that proves what I'm saying. This is not an allegation. This is actually provable by their own words in their own hand. And they use a four-step process to execute every one of their nefarious plans.
All I've got to really say on this, though, is save this man with all cost. And remember, the greater truth awaits. If you're not...
All right. Now, the video that we listened to earlier with that woman talking wasn't the woman that you were seeing. It was this one.
Most important videos that I've ever posted.
It's just
share with you the secret covenant that you might or might not have
This will be probably one of the most important videos.
heard about. The secret covenant was created by...
That's the same one. So just so you know. Anyway. All these people here, we've already played them all. I think that's enough for now. But let's see. Anyway. Have I played this one? Yeah, I think I have. Pretty much playing what I can. Played what I can for now. I mean, we could do this all night. What I will say is, they're so concerned about our health, and that. Let's take a look at cancer. Now I have this on my phone with Google and, of course, AI, whether I want it or not. But in 1969, cancer accounted for roughly 16% of all deaths in the United States, with a crude mortality rate of around 160 to 165 deaths per 100,000 people. For context, the incident rate, which is new cases diagnosed, was roughly 300 to 400 per 100,000. So, but now I'm going to go back on it a little bit. All right, now today for 2026, folks. The lifetime probability of being diagnosed with invasive cancer in America is about 39.2% for men and 38.7% for women. In 2026, an estimated 2.1 million new cancer cases will be diagnosed in the United States, averaging 5,000 800 new cases each day. All right, let's go back like I did for kicks and giggles. For 1955. In 1955, cancer accounted for approximately 15 to 16% of all recorded deaths in the United States. The overall age adjusted cancer mortality rate during that period was about 157 deaths per 100,000 people, making it the second leading cause of death in the country. There were roughly 240,000 cancer deaths in the United States in 1955. Okay, so it keeps going up. I purposely did that, folks. I did like from 75, 76 years ago, and then I did the 1969 to 1971 deal because I was born in 1969, just so you know. I wanted to make that clear. Anyway. It isn't getting any better. It just keeps going up for some odd reason. So, that being said, they're not doing a very good job of caring for us. But then again, they're the government, and they're here to help, right? Right. Okay. Now, I'll tell you about that incident when they were talking about lab-grown meat. That guy testing it, and of course, he's sticking up for it. He's arguing with that Bill Bullard, who's the CEO of one of those cattle organizations or whatever. I'm with Bill Bullard. They're putting things, one of those other videos, they're putting the stuff right in the vegetables and that. And that's not giving us a choice like that one gentleman is trying to portray. Not at all. And so that being said, folks, secondly, even though I know that Florida is a hypocritical red state, and Governor Ron DeSantis is full of crap a lot of times. I was there in Florida when he did that at the time. And I do respect that particular part. I will say that. So, anyway. Alabama, it's a red state. And last I knew it was that, what's her name? That elderly woman who was the governor. Let me look it up. I'm brain freezing. Governor of Alabama. I think it's Kate Ivey, isn't it? Yeah, Kate Ivey. She seems like a good old girl. I haven't been in Alabama now with my property there for over 2 years. We pay the taxes on it every year, which we shouldn't have to do. That's unconstitutional, but that's a different subject too. So anyway, what can you say? But folks, I'm willing to go the traditional farming way. I am, like when they showed those chicken coops, or chicken barns, I should say. I mean, it's abusive. I don't like it either. We have our chickens in like a big brooder box. We have 5 of them right here on the porch. 1 rooster and 4 hens. In my large coop, I have 21 biddies. I think 4 of them are, there's maybe 3 or 4 of them are hens. A bunch of the roosters, we're going to keep 3 of them maybe. But the rest of the roosters, we're going to butcher them. I don't know, sometime in January maybe, or anywhere from December to February. That'll be meat. And of course, those hens will eventually be egg layers. Take a few months. I'm willing to wait. It's you have to have patience with that, but that's just the way it goes. And the way they get them going fast to make them lay so quickly is really that's inhumane. I'm changing. I change it and clean it more than once a month now, so they have good dry, clean bedding. I mean, I do what needs to be done, and we'll be dividing them up soon into one of our other coops. We're going to have to, because they're going to get too big here just to run around. But I mean, you do what you have to do, and I love it out here. The homesteading part of that. Don't get me wrong, I have some aggravation going on every now and then, like this shirt that I'm wearing here. I ended up getting soaking wet outside because it rained hard while I was taking care of water again for those biddies. And I had to take it off, wipe myself down on my upper body, and wear another shirt until this. And I just hung this out so it could dry. But, that's just part of the farm life. I'll take that any day over lab-grown meat. Now, to get to that part of it, there's this gentleman who used to be here with us, and he offered me, hey, I've got some hamburgers, and I'll cook them up. Do you want a couple? And I'm like, well, sure. And I didn't think to look at them. And man, did they taste weird to me. Not like real beef. Well, I've come to find out they weren't. He comes up to me because he had screwed up. He had accidentally bought one of those boxes of Bill Gates Near Burger or whatever you call it. Ugh. It just gives me the creeps, the weebie-jeebies, and those people saying that some of that meat tasted better to them, well, maybe it does. I don't know if I really agree that we should have that choice. I mean, it just, who knows what I consumed into my body. I was drinking water big time after that to urinate it out. I wish I would have looked at his package or box before he did that. I just didn't think to. Why would I think to do that? So, anyway. But I'll stick with real beef, folks. I'm cool with that. One of these days you may see me and I come on live and I eat a real cheeseburger. And I invite Bill Gates to join us. I think that's about his favorite meal, or cheeseburgers. Sir William Henry Gates the Third. I keep bringing this out for you folks, and I'll continue to do this, folks. There's other things I can show you. There's other long videos that you can watch. There's articles you can read. I mean, like this one here. I'll go ahead and put this on. Let's see.
Can't help but feel like I.
Now this video is this is about lab meat, and this video is over 2 years old. I mean, I can show you all the evidence in the world, and it's up to you what you're going to do with it, what you can do for your circumstances. I mean, and here's the thing: they're almost doing it. I mean, yeah, they're blatantly in front of our faces. I've said this more than once. But at the same time, they're keeping bits and pieces of information away from us, or trying to. But this video here is lab-grown meat probably won't save us. I'll go ahead and get it on here and play it. I've seen it. I saw it when I had another account going on. Tell me what you think later, maybe.
I'm sure you've seen the news. We are growing meat in labs, and that meat is getting ever closer to your plate. This is an incredible feat of science. But I want to look past the headlines. Is meat grown in a big silver vat actually going to replace the meat we've been eating for basically our entire existence? And is it any good? There was only one way to find that out. This is Minute Food. So, meat sucks. Most of the meat that's commercially available is terrible for the animals it comes from and terrible for the environment. I know all this. But I also know that meat is really freaking delicious. So I do still eat it, although it comes with a hefty side of guilt. And I'm not alone. This internal conflict is so common that scientists have given it a name: The meat paradox. The good news for us conflicted carnivores is that there are a lot of people working on ways to make eating meat a less crappy choice. We're going to devote a few different videos to some of these alternatives because I want to understand the science they're based on and whether they're actually able to produce food that's sustainable and delicious. And we're starting with the one I'm most curious about: cultivated meat, aka cell-cultured or clean or lab-grown meat. Here in the US, the first cultivated meat products, both chicken, have just been approved by the USDA. You can't buy them in stores yet. They're different from the alternative meat products that are already out there because those are vegetarian products that imitate meat. Cultivated meat is an animal product. Here's how it works. First, scientists take a tiny sample from an animal, or something from an animal, like an egg, a feather, even a cut of actual meat, to harvest a specific type of cell. Different companies use different kinds of cells, and the industry as a whole is still figuring out what kinds work best. But the idea is that given the right conditions, the right temperature, the right pH, the right nutrients, the right amount of oxygen and agitation, these cells can grow and replicate outside an animal basically endlessly. This happens in huge vats called bioreactors. As the cells multiply, they get shuttled between bigger and bigger bioreactors until they're ready to harvest, usually in just a few weeks. Growing cells in vats isn't a brand new technique. We've been doing it for years to produce certain pharmaceuticals, and for even longer to make booze. But there's a ton of additional complexity when it comes to growing cells for meat. For one, meat isn't just cells, it's tissue, a highly complex, highly organized arrangement of cells. Coaxing cultivated cells, which are basically mush, into something resembling a chicken breast or steak requires some serious innovation. And this is where things get a bit fuzzy. Partly because different cultivated meat companies are tackling the mush to meat transition in different ways, but also because a lot of this is proprietary. None of the companies I visited were willing to go into much detail about how they actually do it. Some companies put the cells into a machine that extrudes the mixture into fibrous bundles. Others add so-called scaffolding that helps the cells coalesce into muscle-like groups. Still others are working on 3D printing layers of cells to mimic that highly organized structure. No matter the exact process, though, the end product is meat. It's chicken, beef, tuna, whatever, because these are animal cells. They just grew and replicated outside that animal. And that matters in some big ways. First, it's better for animals than conventional meat. Cultivated meat only fleetingly involves an animal, since sampling those initial cells only has to happen once to initiate the cell line. And that sampling generally doesn't kill the animal. Quick side note, early versions of cultivated meat did require FSB, a mixture rich in nutrients and growth hormones acquired by slaughtering cows. But virtually all companies now use plant-based substitutes. Anyway, a second big implication of growing meat outside animals is that it bypasses some of the environmental problems, at least potentially. But hold up, is meat grown in a vat any good? Because I'll admit, I was skeptical and kind of icked out at the idea. And based on the overwhelming sentiment online, lots of other people are too. So in the name of science, I took a little road trip to try the stuff.
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for core power and rise to...
And I want to be clear that I approached this company that makes cultivated chicken, Good Meat, and they're not sponsoring us or anything. So you are getting my unvarnished opinions here. But the truth is that companies like this one have a lot to prove. And their success rests, at least partly, on making tasters like me, and viewers like you, impressed by cultivated meat. So I was very conscious throughout the whole tasting that I was being sold a product here. And even after the first dish, a smoked chicken salad, I remained skeptical. I mean, it was delicious, but virtually any protein would be if it was sliced up and smothered in a delightfully smoky mayo. For me, it was the next dish, a whole piece of cultivated chicken that was the real test. And it was good, like shockingly good. I'm picky about meat, about its texture in particular, and I didn't have high hopes for this chicken's texture, considering the difficulties of that mush to meat transition. I assumed it would be like those processed nuggets, kind of homogeneous and spongy. But it wasn't. This stuff had bundles of fibers running in different directions that pulled away from each other in a way that was remarkably similar to chicken I'd eaten my whole life. It wasn't quite as juicy or springy as a perfectly cooked piece of conventional meat, but it was way closer than I was expecting. And it tasted like, well, chicken. The ick factor I had going in is gone. Culinarily, I have no qualms about cultivated chicken, especially since what I ate is basically a prototype that's only going to get better. That doesn't mean I don't have qualms about other aspects of cultivated meat. First, it's not actually a given that cultivated meat will be better for the environment than conventionally produced meat. It almost certainly will use less water, less land, and fewer chemicals. But one of the biggest environmental problems with meat is its greenhouse gas emissions. And the emissions estimates for cultivated meat are all over the place. I found claims that ranged from a 96% reduction in emissions compared to conventional meat to a 2,400% increase. Part of the reason for this discrepancy is that different companies are using different production methods. But a bigger reason is that in order for cultivated meat to actually be a viable alternative to conventional meat, companies would have to produce it at a totally different scale than they currently are. And we just don't know what that would look like, or if it's even possible. Say we want cultivated meat to replace even just 1% of the meat eaten worldwide. We'd need millions of tons of the stuff each year. So companies are going to need much bigger bioreactors than the ones they're currently using. But it's unclear whether the process will actually work in vats that large, whether cells can get the oxygen they need, and avoid being poisoned by their own poop. And even if it does work, all that enormous equipment will be ridiculously expensive to produce and maintain. In fact, basically everything about producing cultivated meat is expensive, from the nutrients required to feed the cells to the measures required to avoid contamination. It's remarkably hard to pin down the cost of cultivated meat, but it's currently many, many times more expensive than conventional meat. That price would have to come way, way down before it even makes it to stores in the first place. The bottom line is that a lot needs to go right for cultivated meat to actually be a viable alternative. So this chicken, as surprisingly delicious as it is, isn't the future of meat in the short term. And there are enough question marks that nobody can really say if it's even possible long term. My take is that when it comes to cultivated meat, we need to be careful not to count our chickens before they're extruded.
Give me a skip. All right. I'll play one more here. After I play this 2-minute and 8-second video or whatever, I'll explain this. Sorry about that. Give me a minute. Give me 1 minute. Greg Wallace. Let me share it for Greg Wallace. Yar.
This is disgusting.
Yeah, he's calling him Smiley Pie. Okay.
I couldn't wait to see the mysteries that lay inside. How do you solve the cost of living crisis with engineered human meat? It sounds like magic. And this is where the magic happens. The Good Harvest processing plant has been up and running for over 8 months. It contains both industrial and clinical operations on a site the size of 4 football pitches. Hey, you Mick?
I certainly am. Pleased to meet you, Greg.
Very good to meet you. I'm here to learn.
Right, come this way and I'll show you how it all works.
I want to see everything.
Oh, you will.
Mick Ross oversees the production line and is in charge of over 60 full-time staff who engineer roughly 50,000 steaks every day. So come on then, Mick. How on earth do you grow human meat?
I want to introduce you to our nutrient vat.
Hello, nutrient vat, Greg Wise, telepresenter, and your job is?
Well, what its job is It processes thin slices of tissue in a nutrient-rich mix, which you see here, and then cells start to grow. So over a 24-hour period, these will slowly fuse together into one great big, what we call a cake.
So you're telling me that that is human flesh?
Exactly.
But why human meat? Why not animal meat?
That's a very good question. We've got centuries of knowledge of human medicine at our side. We know more about humans than we do about animals. So we've mastered engineering human cells to make these structured flavors and sinews that we expect from the flavors of steaks we eat.
That's right, a protein made from human cells that promises to be cheaper and tastier than any of its competitors. I'm Greg Wallace, and I'm off to visit Good Harvest, where a whopping 6 tons of human meat is engineered every day. That is stunning. With the promise of cheap meat for all, it may well be the meaty miracle we need to ease the squeeze of the cost of food.
Okay. Oh boy. Huh. Well, all right. Ugh. Now, to explain Greg Wallace, I looked him up, and evidently he was playing a joke like this is all funny. Maybe. But you have to wonder, I mean, even if it is a joke, why would you make a joke like that? Back when I was with, I had a fiance up in Duluth, Minnesota. This is back in 1995. And we were laying in bed. We had our fairly large TV, you know, in our bedroom across facing us. And back then, you know, because we didn't have YouTube. I think YouTube didn't come until 2003, but we were watching HBO, and if I could remember the name of this so-called comedian, I would. And anyway, I mean, okay, here's what happened on this one skit. It played like a, how shall I say it? Played a skit of your loved ones when they die. Why not make good use of them? And, you know, make meat out of them, make something to eat. And then it showed these two children, not even maybe, probably both of them were less than 10 years old, and they're eating meat off these like leg bones and stuff. And the boy was like, Grandma's rib bones sure taste good, Ma. And I looked at my fiance and I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? I mean, I thought it was a pretty tasteless joke, to say the least, back 31 years ago or more. And that's the way I look at this. If Greg Wallace was just making a big joke, and I'm not so sure that's the case, and I'll have to I don't have the evidence right now on hand to give you sources about stuff like that for meat. I will get it if it is there, one way or another. If you can help me out and give me good sources too, feel free to send it to me, folks. And I'll at least take a look at this. Yeah. Oh, that's disgusting. And even if it is a joke, you have to wonder where people are at mentally, spiritually. They think that's funny. If Greg Wallace really did play a joke and he's all smiley pies over this, yeah, it wasn't the Soylent Green movie I watched. No, this is with the late Charlton Heston. Let me look that up. Open up a tab. I watched it last night. It's a movie that was released in 1973. Two famous actors, one of them being Charlton Heston, and it's kind of a cheesy movie. Yeah, here it is, Soylent Green. I'll show it here. I'm not going to play the movie. It's like 1 hour, 36 minutes and 45 seconds long, but I'll just show you what it is if you want to watch it. It's here it is right here. And It was released in 1973, and it was portraying 2022. And now we're 4 years past that. It wasn't very accurate as far as the technology. New York was at 40 million population, which it obviously was not and is not now. It was not that way 4 years ago, but it's interesting enough, I guess. Go ahead and watch it, because it still shows you in a way where people's minds are. But that's my point. It's like with Greg Wallace. Okay, I can play that. Hold on a second. Okay, I've shown you that long enough. So I'll show you something else, though. Okay. Henrietta Lacks. Oops. Colon, immortal. And they took her cells without her permission when she died of cancer. Hold on a second. I'm going to change the world. I'll have a lot of links to put down. Okay, I think this is the one, if I'm right. 8 minutes? Yeah, sure it is. But again, where is Greg Wallace's mind at? It's like the people in Bohemian Grove. They do, supposedly anyway, they burn a baby. It's an effigy only. I don't know if that's the case or not, but if it is, even if it is just an effigy, why would people think like that? Okay? Why in their minds would they even pretend like a game that they're burning an infant and burning their papers up of all their problems? You just have to wonder about those people and where their doggone heads are. So that being said, folks, I just thought I'd say that. Anyway, let's get this going. It's about 8 minutes.
Era or PV, it may impact your moments. While you may blame.
And in 1951, she was diagnosed.
Okay.
Henrietta Lacks was a sort of poor black tobacco farmer who grew up in Southern Virginia. And in 1951, she was diagnosed with cervical cancer. At that point, she had moved up to Baltimore, and she went to Johns Hopkins because it was the only place anywhere near her that treated Black patients. So this was the era of segregation, and the hospitals had the quote unquote colored wards, which was the only place that Black patients or poor patients could be seen. And without telling her, before treating her tumor, her doctor just cut a little piece and put it in a dish. And he sent that down the hall to George Guy, who was the head of tissue culture research at Hopkins. And George Guy had been trying to grow human cells outside of the body for decades, and it had never worked. And for reasons that remained a mystery, Henrietta's cells just never died. So they started doubling their numbers every 24 hours. They went from like 1 dish to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, and then just sort of pretty quickly took over the lab. And George Guy started calling his colleagues and saying, I think I have the first immortal human cell line, which is what they're called, which means they'll just grow and divide forever. And in response, his colleagues all said, great, can we have some? Because there'd been this enormous effort to grow cells outside the body for 100 years, because we really didn't know a lot about cells at that point. And in response to all of his colleagues asking for them, George Guy sent them to anyone who wanted to use them for research. And they spread around the world this way really fast. And they were one of the most important things that happened to medicine. They were used to help create the polio vaccine. They went up in the first space missions to see what would happen to human cells in zero gravity. They were used to create our most important cancer medications like vincristine and tamoxifen. Her cells were the first ever cloned, her genes some of the first ever mapped. They were used to help develop in vitro fertilization. Basically, Almost all of the vaccines we take today can be traced back to research with her cells. There isn't a person out there who hasn't benefited from research on her cells.
The surprising tenacity of her cancer cells, which made them so important to medical research, also ultimately took her life. Henrietta Lacks died in October 1951, at the age of 31. As her cells were taken without her knowledge, in an era before the concept of informed consent existed, Henrietta died never knowing how important her cells would be. Even her family didn't learn of the true extent of her legacy until science writer Rebecca Skloot began working with Henrietta's daughter Deborah to uncover the truth almost 5 decades later.
Rebecca, she worked hand in hand with my mother, Deborah Lacks. They went on journeys to Clover, Virginia, to talk to family members. They did a lot of work together. They hit the road a lot. They put a lot of miles on their cars. My mom was 2 years old when Henrietta passed away, so she never knew her mother.
As Deborah learned about these things, there's so much mixed emotion in it, because on the one hand, look at all this incredible stuff my mother did for science and for the world. That gave her a level of peace with her mother's death that she had wanted her entire life. At the same time, there was a lot of anger about the fact that everyone has benefited from these cells except her family.
This information was out there for so many years, and the family was not even aware of Henrietta's, that they had taken cells from Henrietta Lacks, and these cells have been used all over the world by scientists, labs, researchers, and millions of dollars have been made, and you still have the family struggling with basic health care. You know, we gotta recognize the past, but kind of like move forward and move in a positive direction to make sure that this doesn't happen again to our family or anybody else's family. And the Lacks family is making sure that we continue to move forward to honor and preserve her legacy and speak about her life.
So they collaborated with the NIH and formed what's known as the Gila Genome Committee, where a few members of the Lacks family and a group of scientists sit on this committee, and anyone who wants to do research with the Henrietta's genome have to put in an application that is reviewed by members of the family and the NIH scientists. It was unprecedented. There's never been a moment like that where research, quote unquote, research subjects were a part of the decision-making mechanism of science.
The family now has a seat at the table. So instead of us being the last to know, we will be the first to know.
This is the 10 picture with the elite filter. Elite filter reduces.
The Immortal Life of Henry Lacks is about so many different things. It's about science and communication and how important it is for scientists to be able to communicate with the public. It's a story about journalism. What happens when people tell your story? It's very much a story about race and science and race and medicine. So much of the history of science and medicine was built on the backs of Black people without their knowledge. And so it's so important that Henrietta's story be told as part of that history. And in some ways, that's the concept behind Black Lives Matter, is saying, yeah, this Black life matter. And it matters that we talk about it, and it matters that we tell Black stories. And look at what can happen when we try to kind of squash those stories. It has generations of impact.
This year marks the 100th anniversary of Henrietta's birth, and her incredible immortal cells continue to be more important than ever. With the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the HeLa cells were at the forefront of the early research which helped to shape our understanding of the virus.
Within the first kind of few days of when we really realized, oh wow, this is a pandemic, this is terrifying, I started getting texts from members of the Lacks family saying, tell me Henrietta's got this. Like, HeLa cells are working on this, right? You know, and I do think that it says a lot about the Lacks family that their first response to the pandemic from so many of them was, okay, how is HeLa dealing with this? You know, we know she's got this.
It just makes me proud because she's not only helping a specific group of people, but she's helping everybody worldwide. She's saving lives. She's giving life. So, I mean, yeah, with these, I say, magical cells.
When I do speaking engagements, people come up to me and they say, I had children because of your grandmother. That's a heartwarming feeling when, you know, your grandmother has died, but yet she's still providing life.
No.
So for her to know that she is saving and impacting so many lives, she would be smiling from ear to ear. That beautiful smile, that beautiful Henrietta smile, it'll light up a room.
I can't hear you. Hold on, folks.
It was right underneath that video. Henrietta.
Which one? Huh? You don't even.
Immortal. It's called Immortal Cells.
Immortal Women. No, that's
Immortal
over.
Cells.
Where? I don't have it.
It was right. Keep going down. Hold on. Go back. All you do is.
Hold on, folks.
There's one more.
I want to. These are long videos are ready to be doing on.
Right here.
Oh.
That right there.
Okay. Fine.
That's the last one. But
I
that tells exactly what they're doing with her cells.
All right. Let's do this one. Hold on. All right. Hold on. Let me share this.
Imagine something small enough to float on a particle of dust that holds the keys to understanding cancer, virology, and genetics. Luckily for us, such a thing exists in the form of trillions upon trillions of human lab-grown cells called HeLa. Let's take a step back for a second. Scientists grow human cells in the lab to study how they function, understand how diseases develop, and test new treatments without endangering patients. To make sure that they can repeat these experiments over and over and compare the results with other scientists, they need huge populations of identical cells that can duplicate themselves faithfully for years. But until 1951, all human cell lines that researchers tried to grow had died after a few days. Then a Johns Hopkins scientist named George Guy received a sample of a strange-looking tumor. Dark purple, shiny, jelly-like. This sample was special. Some of its cells just kept dividing and dividing and dividing. When individual cells died, generations of copies took their place and thrived. The result was an endless source of identical cells that's still around today, the very first immortal human cell line. Guy labeled it HeLa after the patient with the unusual tumor, Henrietta Lacks. Born on a tobacco farm in Virginia, she lived in Baltimore with her husband and 5 children. She died of aggressive cervical cancer a few months after her tumor's cells were harvested, and she never knew about them. So what's so special about the cells from Henrietta Lacks that lets them survive when other cell lines die? The short answer is, we don't entirely know. Normal human cells have built-in control mechanisms. They can divide about 50 times before they self-destruct in a process called apoptosis. This prevents the propagation of genetic errors that creep in after repeated rounds of division. But cancer cells ignore these signals, dividing indefinitely and crowding out normal cells. Still, most cell lines eventually die off, especially outside the human body. Not HeLa though, and that's the part we can't yet explain. Regardless, When Dr. Guy realized he had the first immortal line of human cells, he sent samples to labs all over the world. Soon the world's first cell production facility was churning out 6 trillion HeLa cells a week. And scientists put them to work, in an ethically problematic way, building careers and fortunes off of Henrietta's cells without her or her family's consent, or even knowledge until decades later. The polio epidemic was at its peak in the early 50s. HeLa cells, which easily took up and replicated the virus, allowed Jonas Salk to test his vaccine. They've been used to study diseases including measles, mumps, HIV, and Ebola. We know that human cells have 46 chromosomes because a scientist working with HeLa discovered a chemical that makes chromosomes visible. HeLa cells themselves actually have around 80 highly mutated chromosomes. HeLa cells were the first to be cloned. They've traveled to outer space. Telomerase, an enzyme that helps cancer cells evade destruction by repairing their DNA, was discovered first in HeLa cells. In an interesting turn of fate, thanks to HeLa, we know that cervical cancer can be caused by a virus called HPV, and now there's a vaccine. HeLa-fueled discoveries have filled thousands of scientific papers, and that number is probably even higher than anyone knows. HeLa cells are so resilient that they can travel on almost any surface. A lab worker's hand, a piece of dust, invading cultures of other cells and taking over like weeds. Countless cures, patents, and discoveries, all made thanks to Henrietta Lacks.
All right. This, and I'll go ahead and this again. Okay, I think I've shown enough for one live stream. Henrietta Lacks. Gotta love this. All right. I'm going to keep showing this as long as I can. YouTube hasn't struck me yet like they used to 5, 6, 7 years ago. And put me in YouTube jail for a week or whatever. I'm trying to think, one time it might have been 2 weeks. That was back when it's a little more censored. I'm to the point I don't care, though. So that being said, back to the choice thing. When that guy was arguing with that Bill Bullard guy, about how we should have a choice. Well, there are folks that may not have the means or the resources to make, grow their own vegetables, their own fruits. They may not have livestock and cattle like I used to have. They may not have the money to go to the farmer's market quite so easily, whatever. They may not have the means, maybe they live in the city and they got to take the bus, have to go to the store. And if that mRNA stuff and whatever, God knows what else is in the fruits and vegetables, and who knows, but do they really have a choice? They have to eat. So that'd be pretty easy for me to argue. But those of us who do, folks, we have enough for ourselves, and we can actually sell or even give away some of the food too. That I think that's a good thing. I'm not here to. All I can do is continue to give the information, and I will do it as long as I am allowed to, as long as I feel compelled to, that I think God is telling me to do this. So a lot of times people don't even know. And then when you tell them, and there are new patents, or there are patents and laws and stuff where they don't even have to put in they don't have to have all the ingredients on there. And there's stuff in there we don't even know about. I've said it many times before. We grow our own. We have our own egg layers. We make our own salads here, right off the property. We were going to do it today, but it started raining again. It was raining. It rained off and on pretty hard, and it stopped. And we thought we were going to get to the get outside, but then it started raining so hard. So all we did was eat mainly chicken drumsticks, which I'm cool with that. I got it from a store, Save a Lot, with a butcher there. But there's so many subjects too. I should probably start going over about how they're indoctrinating children. Recently there was a teacher fired. That's the least they could do. But she had like two girls kiss each other, and then do an assignment on it about how they felt about it. And I'm glad they weren't my children, my daughters. That teacher would have had a real problem on her hands. And really, they should press charges. I should get into some of that with the indoctrination. I mean, the public school system, they should only be teaching reading, writing, math, science, American civics, history, the basics. Maybe some, while reading and writing, that can include a lot of subjects once like your first grades, kindergarten through fourth grade, basically, is where you learn to read and comprehend. And after that, from fifth grade on up through your senior year, that's where you read to learn. That's the way it should. It's supposed to be. And then to do things behind your back, the parents' back, and that. But thankfully, Deb and I aren't in that position anymore. Her kids are grown and gone, which is really nice and fine by me. But I should probably get into that because I'm also sub to some teacher channels, and the woes that they're going through, and I could probably do some of that too. I've given you so much information. I've given you some information on AI data centers and how I think it's connected to the beast. I've given you a lot of information on food in America and how other nations won't even accept our food. And if they do, they're putting a special section and warning labels and everything, how much more can I do? And I will. I'll do it again, but I might have to go to another subject now. And I think it's vital, too, for us to be ready mentally, physically, and spiritually. We eat the way we can. I do some exercise. I work here, of course. I run this homestead, and I have, enough work to do. I did some weed whacking. Well, technically not yesterday, but the day before. Yesterday was rain off and on. I have to take care of the coops and that, and make sure everything's up to par. And then I do a little exercise on my own. And of course, my spiritual life, I read my Bibles. I read, I pray and stuff and that. And, we need to be ready for that. And mentally, you can read and stuff and watch intellectually stimulating documentaries and that, take notes, and keep up on what's going on and try to prepare yourself to the best of your ability with Elohim guiding you, with his Ruach, God with his spirit. But I pretty much for now, I think, given you more than enough information to roll on here. I think this is my 19 total live streams. The first one was on Deb's and my marriage from 2017. So the next 18 are on things like this that you can scroll through, go through and watch. And I want to start getting to some other subjects, We're drummed down as an average. I read incessantly, and I watch videos that stimulate the mind. But a lot of people are just drummed down and they can't keep their attention span past a few seconds. Basically, the attention span of a gnat, and there are ways to correct that. So maybe I should get into some of that from now on. So that being said, folks, I think I've been on here long enough. It's been about 84 minutes now. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate those of you who stuck with me on this, with my wife and I. Too bad you didn't comment. I'd like to see what you think on this, even if you disagree with me on some of it. As long as you're not vulgar and that. If they're productive comments and questions, I'm cool with that. Okay, Lana Fond typed in, where's this from? I don't know she'd have to, I don't even know if she's watching now, he or she, and I'd have to have him or her expand. So, who made the secret covenant? Yeah, I'll have to get more information on that. You get more into secret societies. To give you a little bit of history on that, I mean, you have Templar Knights and all that. And I've never been in the Masons. I've never once been in the Scottish or the York Rite. However, I know a lot about it because, one, I've done my research, and two, I grew up being the son of a Master Mason of the York Rite. My dad was a 32nd degree Master Mason. He was a Shriner. Before I was born, he was an odd fellow as well. But I guess, and I have to go by what my now late mother told me, when my older brother came into the picture, she had a talk with him. Look, you're a family man now. You need to be here once in a while. So either give up the Masons or the Odd Fellows. So he gave up the Odd Fellows. He died, sadly, as a Mason, 32nd degree Master Rite, Master Mason of the York Rite. And I've talked on that before, even in these recent live streams I've done, because they're Luciferian in that. No doubt you shouldn't be doing it, but at the same time, I think they put Christians to shame when it comes to helping children and St. Jude's hospitals and that. Anyway, I think I've done this long enough, ladies and gentlemen. So with this being said, you all take care. You stay safe out there. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and definitely spiritually. Pray. Ask Elohim to guide you in all this and what he wants you to do for him. Peace. Shalom. The Levite man is out of here.